What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of For the Love of the Game. I'm your host, Tommy Stiles. We've got Turner Riddle here as well. With us today is Bryce Pacheco. Bryce is an amateur bodybuilder, been in the game a while, also a top coach, best coach in Oklahoma, and the MPC and IFBB both. So Bryce, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So give the audience a little background tour. Who is Bryce Pacheco? How'd you get into bodybuilding? How long you been coaching?
Yeah, started working out like 11 years old. I'm 34 now. Started working out like 11 for sports. Then just because trying to get bigger for football. And then as I kept growing and growing, I started falling more in love with, actually the lifting, all that. Got all the muscle strength magazines and, getting into all that lifestyle. Went to play football in college, messed my back up. And then that's when I started bodybuilding. So that was when I was 19, I did my first show, won teen Oklahoma, got third in the men's division. And from there, just been bodybuilding ever since, with ups and downs with life. But with my success in bodybuilding, people started asking me, for help. That's how we all started in this to begin with. Just people would ask for help, and I, give advice. Still not knowing what I was going to do with my life. I was going to school for petroleum engineering. That's what actually my degree's in. But as I was competing, my body was transforming. You have people ask you for help. Started helping people, and then realized, this is cool. Maybe I can make money from this. Started charging people like $50 a month to help them out, and then kind of what took off from there. And then that's when I quit looking for a petroleum engineering job and was like, I can make money out of this. Yeah. Now I make way more money than I would ever make petroleum engineering. And I've been coaching for 100% coaching, I think 9 years, but started helping people about 10, 11 years. And been the coach of the year in Oklahoma the past 5 years. Really trying to take it to the next level with the coaching and trying to get on that national, radar.
Right.
As a competitor, I've like I said, I won teen Oklahoma my first show back when I was 18 just turned 19 years old. Since then I've gone to the national shows. I did USA's 2017. I got 5th as a heavyweight. Then 2018, I did North Americans. It's funny enough, it's the year I did the most shit, and I looked the worst. The only time I haven't placed at a national show. And then 2020, I did Olympia Amateur, got 4th as a super heavy. 2022, I did Arnold Amateur, and I was planning on being super heavy again. Till 2 weeks before the fucking show, I found out Andrew Jack was showing up. So I kind of ran from him, pulled down the heavyweight, which was a bad deal. Had trouble filling back out. And then I ended up getting second in heavyweight at that one. So that's kind of my competition history. As a coach, I've produced 5 pros. We said still not, on that national level radar yet, but taking people to Oklahoma every year and all the Oklahoma shows.
Right.
Got it. So with this, since you've grown, when you first started competing, what weight class were you?
So I was a 205, bodybuilder, or not bodybuilder, 205 pound football player. I fucked my back up, was rehabbing it. And then I worked at a supplement store. 6 weeks before a show, someone came in and put up a poster in the supplement store. And I was like, well, shit, I'm not playing football anymore. I'll try that. Dieted for 6 weeks. Wasn't lean enough, but was 185 on stage. Not near lean enough, but I won the teen, got 3rd in novice middleweight. And that was back then before we had physique, classic, and all this. So there's, 15 people in a novice middleweight class.
Right.
So it was a legitimate competition. But yeah, I was 185. I'm only 5'8". I was 185 at that show. Then my first legitimate look was probably 2015. I did the Oklahoma, and I was right at the top of light heavyweight. So my first show was like 2008. But then I was in college partying. I'd party for 6 months, and then I'd go, well, let's get back serious. Ups and downs. But from about 2015 is about the time I've been like 100% serious almost all year.
Now, was that while taking steroids?
Yeah. So my first show was back when we had, all the pro hormones, which was just legal oral steroids. I didn't know any better. I was taking that all through high school because it was at the supplement store, So I took, androstenedione or some shit back in when I was like 14 years old, man. And then taking Superjaw, through high school. I thought I was natural. I didn't know this stuff was unnatural. I didn't know it was steroids. But looking back,
Right.
I was taking oral steroids, but low dose stuff. My first show, I had someone who was like, hey man, you can't compete natural. So I did 6 weeks of like oral Winstraw and ephedrine.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so my first show I just did the oral Winstraw and ephedrine. And then the next year is when I kind of started blasting and doing like real cycles and stuff. Since then, in my younger years, I was kind of reckless and I was just like, up the dose. And I blasted pretty hard year round. I couldn't ever afford like, GH or anything, but I was doing pretty high dose on some stuff back then. So yeah, looking back, I'd do stuff a little differently.
Hey, you mentioned ephedrine. I feel like that's something that doesn't really get talked about much anymore. Is that something you still do and do with your clients?
No, I much prefer Clen.
Yeah.
Clen's a lot more effective, a lot less better, longer half-life, so you don't have to dose it once a day, more effective. But it was just, I guess I had it over the counter, which years later I found out even when they banned it, you can still get it over the counter. You just go to a pharmacy, Broncade, any pharmacy has it. As long as you don't act like you're making meth, they have to give it to you.
Is there something wrong with that? Making meth? No, I'm kidding. How would you run that? Did you run like the ECA stack, or would you just run?
So back then, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but nowadays, I just, like I said, I like to do 40 micrograms of Clen, and I'll do that. That's all I do. Like in the past, I've done higher dose on stuff, but looking at it, Clen, if you go too high, you're gonna get the down regulation, right? And then you got to do the cycles, 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 weeks on. If you keep it at 40 micrograms, that's the therapeutic dose used in other countries for asthma. And it never downregulates that dose. So you can use that all prep with no issues. Plus, there's some evidence that it actually has some anabolic effects. So for me personally, when I start prep, I start the 40 micrograms pretty much at least 12 weeks out. When I'm coaching people, my motto is, less drugs. So I only use it if someone is already, dropping calories, has a high cardio in, and still having trouble dropping weight. Then I'll add that in. I don't really see a need for the aspirin. Now, caffeine, I prefer coffee because there's some other things in there for fat loss. There's I think it's like chlorogenic acid. I don't know. I read all this shit. I don't know how it's pronounced, but there's a chemical in coffee that actually helps with like blood sugar and fat loss and like appetite. So it's not just the caffeine. So I prefer coffee, but if someone doesn't like coffee, then I'll do caffeine. I just do 200 milligrams twice a day on that.
Yeah.
But then if I'm going to do ephedrine, the only reason I'll ever do ephedrine is if someone can't get Clen, or if it's, like someone who doesn't want to do anything illegal. So then I'll just like go get some Broncade from a pharmacy, and I'll do one morning and one midday, which is 25 milligrams.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned with clients, your motto is less is more. like versus what you would do with yourself.
Yeah.
Tell me why that is. I think
Well,
I think that's probably true for most all coaches. I want to hear you elaborate on that.
Yeah. So with myself, I'll redline, I'll take stuff to the risky part. I can feel when stuff's getting sketchy and back off. I get blood work done every 3 months at least. I take $1,000 worth of health supplements a month. So, I'm doing checking all the boxes to make sure I'm not croaking over. And when I say, like I said, in the past, I was way more reckless. Even with me, I'm dropping a lot of unnecessary drugs. I've lowered the doses on a lot of shit. Like I said, the North Americans is kids don't try this at home. My North Americans is the only national show I haven't placed at. And that was the one I was most reckless. I did a gram of tren a week for 12 weeks and thought I was going to kill everyone. So don't ever do that. But I do less is more with clients. Just because, a lot of, I'm still not at that national pro level yet. So I'm not getting any veterans. I get a lot of newbies. And if, I send them, they're cycling. Whoa! So I like to start with this, let's just add one thing at a time, go from there.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. When you ran, and I'm not trying to make this all about drugs, but when you ran tren at 1,000, was that 12 weeks into the show? No differences in the dose?
No, yeah. I'm all about stability. I don't like doing a lot of changes on stuff. So if I go to a dose, I normally keep it there. But yeah, it was 12 weeks straight, a gram. Because back then, so I changed my model on this too. I was doing a gram of tests year round. I read, this is what you got to do to go pro. Is what Palumbo says. What all these people were saying that what people do is a gram of tests. So I was doing that like year round. 12 weeks out, I did a gram of tren. And like I said, the first like 4 weeks, I blew the fuck up. That's when I went from a heavyweight to super. I still made heavyweight at North Americans, but it was a struggle. So I went from 208, 2017 on stage, 208, 210 at USA's to 2018, barely, about 16 months later, I was 230 on stage.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time I started doing, that was the only time I've done more than 3 IUs a GH. But now I did 3 IUs twice a day, 6 IUs a day. I suggest only doing 3 IUs now because that year shit did grow weird. Like my hands grew, my big ass head grew more, my fucking shoes went up a size. My wedding ring, it doesn't fit on my ring finger anymore. It fits on my pinky. So
when you're doing 6 IUs?
Yeah, it was weird. Like I know I've heard some people, go a lot more than that, but 3 IUs is max I'll do. Is that I got the tingly, like numb shit where like my arms would fall asleep and it's painful as fuck. So I've changed a way I'll do a lot of things now. And I used to do, I don't know if I stay on track, I get on tangents real easy, but so you can keep me on track if you need to. Back then I used to do GH 3 IUs morning, 3 IUs pre-workout. I always work out midday, which is what's optimal. I know most people don't get to control that based on their schedule, but optimal midday training. But I do 3 IUs morning, 3 IUs pre-workout. Now I suggest 3 IUs at bed. Just a lot. It matches your natural rhythm better. A lot less side effects. You get all the benefits without the side effects. Because the main side effect in GH is going to be insulin resistance.
I really don't think, because I've tried all this different ways. I mean, yes, I think if you're breaking down insulin resistance and things like your natural growth hormone levels, if you're worried about that when you're taking 6 IUs of growth hormone, I kind of feel like that's dumb. But not taking the 6 IUs, but worried about what your natural's doing when you're taking 6 IUs. Oh, yeah. But I've taken it pre-workout. I've taken it first thing in the morning. Hell, I've taken it probably 3 or 4 times a day. But the more I think about it, I think that, you obviously it's good to take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, wake up, take it, go get a shower, do your cardio. So you're looking at over an hour that it's fresh in your bloodstream with nothing else. But I also do believe, I took it for years, pre-workout, because I was like, well, when do you want to be the most anabolic? Pre-workout or while you train. But I think that over time I've kind of gravitated towards before bed. I just think that it naturally helps you get to sleep better, and then a deeper sleep.
Well, the reason I switched is GH, it's a complex drug. So on paper, it has a short half-life, right? So my thinking was like, I do it in the morning, it would come in, be out. I do it midday, come in, be out. And then I was hoping that my natural would still work, right? Well, there's been research that proves the feedback loop on the GH is at least 24 hours. So if you take exogenous GH for the next 24 hours, your endogenous GH is not happening. So that's when I realized, well, your endogenous natural rhythm, it spikes throughout your sleep. So then it's obviously best to be with your natural rhythm when you can. So that's when you do it at bed. So now you're not getting a natural spike anymore, but now you're getting an exogenous spike anyways. So,
right.
And it's matching your natural rhythm. And then, like I said, with insulin resistance, the thing that happens there is when GH is high, insulin doesn't work as well, right? Or you might not even get an insulin response. So that's where the blood sugar thing comes into play. So as long as you do it at night, you're gonna get the spike throughout your sleep, you're gonna get all the anabolic effects, plus the cascade that it happens from the GH happens throughout the day already from that spike. But now you're not gonna get the insulin resistance throughout the day. And so now you don't have to use insulin if you're eating a lot. But that's another thing. I think if you're eating clean and a shit ton of food, I like doing Humalog with your meals. But like I said, only if you're super clean, super lean, and eating a shit ton of food.
Yeah, I agree.
But now, like I said, but if you use the GH at bed, you don't have to use insulin.
Right. Have you've used all the different types of insulin before, right?
Yeah, I've played with Lantus before. But you're definitely get desensitization real quick with that, because you're just redlining the insulin receptors all day. And like back before I could get Humalog, I do go to any Walmart and get Novolin R. I used to use that, but Humalog is going to be your best bet. And I like to do it intramuscular, so you get the spike and it's out. So I would do it right before I eat, intramuscular spike, eat your food. It helps your food get, stored, get utilized, and it's out of your system. So you're not going to have a bleed. So you're not going to get as much desensitization, plus you're going to get more out of it. And the reason I use Humalog is based on the research. Humalog activates the IGF-1 receptor better than any other type of insulin. That's actually why they've gotten away from using Humalog, because for us bodybuilders, IGF-1 is great, anabolic. For average Joes who don't care about building muscle, IGF-1 could be sketchy if you have any cancer, because IGF makes cancer spread quick.
Yeah. One thing that I've always remembered, do you remember the time we trained in Kansas?
Yeah.
Kansas City. I remember you had your intro workout and you had protein in it. You remember that?
Yeah.
You still do that? You still drink protein intro workout?
So I've been doing the intro workout thing way before it was cool. I've been doing this for 10 years. I used to sip on whey protein and Caro syrup during my workout. But for digestion issues, I definitely think you got to use a hydrolyzed whey protein. It has to be super hydrolyzed enough where it's going to taste like shit. Just flavor it with some flavor. So I was using Pepto Pro, but it's gotten fucking expensive. It's $45 a pound. Plus,
it's up there.
Plus, I'm borderline lactose intolerant. And I noticed that Pepto Pro is really fucking me up. So I do a hydrolyzed whey protein, which actually, after running this next bag, I'm going to go to strictly aminos, because I'm even getting some response from that. I'm not like, lactose intolerant. I don't get like gassy. I have real bad sinus issues, and I notice for some reason my regular whey shakes don't cause me problems, but the Pepto Pro caused me real bad problems, and I've noticed during my workouts I'm still getting sniffly. So I think I'm gonna drop it and go to aminos. But yeah, right before we had, Pepto Pro and hydrolyzed whey, I was doing just whey isolate and kefir syrup. But I switched now. I do HBCD. That's one of the best gastric on your stomach. It's the quickest get out of your stomach, and then it's the quickest being absorbed in your bloodstream. Plus, it acts like a funnel, carries all the other ingredients through with it. But yeah, aminos are gonna be your best bet. But you got to have all the essential aminos. You can't just do BCAAs. Actually, just taking BCAAs is counterproductive. There's not enough research on some of this stuff, but there's some theories. There's definitely research proven if you just take BCAAs, like you're gonna strip tyrosine, right? So you got aminos running through your bloodstream. Okay, you take just 3 amino acids. It takes more aminos to build muscle, right? So you're wanting to repair this muscle. Well, they're going to take some of these aminos that are floating in your body. Well, tyrosine is floating in your bloodstream, and it's made. It has to be used not just for building muscle. It's used for thyroid hormone. It's used to make dopamine and norepinephrine, right? So if you just take BCAAs, you're going to strip your tyrosine from your bloodstream. You're going to strip tryptophan from your bloodstream. Tryptophan is used to make serotonin, and then also has a whole other pathway that's way more complex. But like they've proven that like you can actually make someone depressed if there's easy ways to manipulate amino acids in your bloodstream. It's like if you give someone only amino acids, everything except tyrosine, they're going to not produce dopamine, and now they're not going to be motivated. You give someone all amino acids except for tryptophan, they're going to deplete their serotonin, and now they're going to be depressed. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be as drastic because you're still getting all the amino acids throughout the day, but even in that window, you're going to be causing some downrate. So, some people, you might get a post-workout blues. You're like, I don't know why the fuck I'm depressed all the time. Well, it's because you're taking 20 grams of BCAAs and no tryptophan or, no tyrosine. Plus, for building muscle, you're going to need more than just those. And there's actually, I've seen a theory. I didn't come up with this theory, but I can't remember who it was. I thought someone like a John Meadows and Dr. Sir, whatever that doctor he talks with guy. But they were saying that, what'd you say?
Serrano.
Yeah. I thought that they said some theory that they think you could probably break down another muscle to get the aminos needed to repair this muscle if you don't have all the aminos. So definitely need all essential aminos and that's why whey is a good one. It has a good ratio of all the essentials. But definitely BCAAs, trash, never use BCAAs.
Nice. All right, I got another one. I got 2 good questions for you right here. For you, what's harder, off season being full or eating in that whole phase, or being in prep and hungry, and why?
So definitely being hungry, it's harder for me. I'm a fat boy at heart. If I didn't play sports and bodybuild, I would be a fat piece of shit. But definitely being hungry it's real hard. I can eat usually pretty easy as long as I'm not having any mental issues at the time. When you're depressed, shit's hard no matter what. But when I'm feeling good, I can eat all day, no problem. But definitely being hungry sucks.
What do you think about your clients?
There's not a whole lot of people that are having it. Like I said, I haven't got to that where I'm getting these legit national level. I have some people that I've created in national level, but I'm not getting these legit national level or pros. So I'm not working with a whole lot of super high metabolisms that have to force feed. But right. I have, I just took this guy to Masters Nationals, and he's a bantamweight, lightweight, super hard gainer, eating more food than I have to eat. So he obviously says, force feeding is the hardest part of it for him.
Yeah.
But then I have a guy, borderline heavy, super heavy I'm working with right now. He eats shit ton. And, right when we started prep, I had a little bit of primo and his metabolism went up, and he's like, I'm starving. I'm like, fucking eating a shit ton. How are you starving already?
Yeah. Just wait for your 6 weeks out.
Yeah, I know. So, I haven't had a whole lot of people complain about the off season, but like I said, I haven't got that many hardcore. So, a lot of the newbie people still haven't even got to that point where they're like locked in year round.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, like, I think with all the new classes, it's crazy because if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all out. Like, regardless, if I'm going to do men's physique, it's not like I'm just going to say, hey, let's just get shredded and get on stage. I want to be the men's physique guy I can be. Right.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be classic, I want to be, 0.1 off the weight limit. So like, but I feel like, and don't quote me on this because I don't know how true this is. I coach mainly bodybuilders and I coach a lot of girls, but I think I only have just like one or two classic guys, but I don't feel like with their mindset, it's I got to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat to grow.
Oh, no.
We looked at it, or I looked at it as, and I know Tommy's the same way, that it's like all this food's got to be down every single day,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I think the taller classic guys have to push food, but the shorter guys, once they're at their cap, it's almost some of them have to take off seasons where they're not even really bodybuilding at full speed because they don't have any more room on their frame to add tissue. So off season becomes just like maintenance or vacation mode almost.
Yeah, for some of these guys, I usually, I'll usually like to get guys about 30 pounds over weight cap and just try to get as solid at that weight as possible. Because I know even if, you get to 10% of that weight, you got 20 pounds you'll get off and then you can manipulate 10 pounds. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I've only had a few, that I've gotten to that point, which normally the shorter guys with the lower weight caps.
Right.
So you said once you get
they just got increased actually yesterday.
Yeah.
What's that?
They just changed all the weight caps.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Well, they did that. The reason they did that is he announced he's going to make a physique weight class. And then he's like, well, it's going to be lighter than classic. Well, none of the physique guys can make a classic weight. So he's like, well, we got to bump the classic weights up now just so we can make the physique weights lower.
And the MPC, I think a few of the heights lost a few pounds. So they dropped, because I have a guy who's class C and we were going to do a run of shows next year. And he went from 212 to 209 as his cap now.
Huh.
So some of the heights actually lost a few pounds, but so maybe they'll get pushed to open. I don't know what their thought process is there, but
Yeah.
Don't either. All right. So national level shows. Let's talk that. Let's talk. You done the Olympia, amateur Olympia, North Americans, USA's. I think you've been to nationals, right? I think we've seen each other at nationals.
I go every year because I always have clients at it. I've never competed at it because the first year I did USA's, I took only 2 other clients and I was like, I'm not ever competing at the same time as prepping people.
Yeah, for sure.
And I always have at least a handful at nationals.
So how do you decide which show you want to do? Why? How do you decide which show you want to send your clients to and why?
So for me, nationals, my last one I did is Arnold Amateur. So the reason I started doing Olympia Amateur and Arnold Amateur, it's not because I'm scared of competition or anything, but you don't have to qualify. And I don't want to waste my time at a local show. Like now, nowadays, there's some legit local, like there's going to be a legit person show. Like, so when I did USA's 2017, I came into Missouri State 2 weeks before. And I was like, I don't really have to peak. It's a fucking local show. I was already had my head too big. And I lost because someone took that shit seriously, came in shredded. I wasn't on point. Luckily that happened because it woke me up and I came in even more conditioned and ended up getting top 5 out of 30 at USA's that year. 8 out of the top 10 are all pro within 2 years.
Right.
Except for this loser. So and then I did North Americans. I was still qualified the next year. Well, then I don't like to compete too often. Like I said, I'm a fat kid at heart. Dieting is hard. So I will never compete unless I'm pro and I won't say never, but I like to go 12 to 18 months tops between shows. And I didn't want to have to do a local show again. Olympia and Arnold Amateur are open to the world, so there's no qualifier. So I did Olympia Amateur, and that one didn't really time up right because the year I did it, Nationals got moved back, and I had 5 people at Nationals 10 days out. So I flew into Orlando. If I had the money at the time, I probably would have just stayed for 2 weeks straight to my show, because my show was 10 days later at Orlando. I flew in, coached 5 people, had 2 people turn pro, a bodybuilder, light heavyweight, and a figure girl. Flew back for my show. But the reason I picked Olympia Amateurs, I didn't have to do a qualifier. I didn't want to have to waste time with the local show. And then Arnold Amateur, and then the reason I decided to do Arnold Amateur is because when you win that, you have to win overall to go pro. But if you win that, you're invited to the Arnold Pro Show. And that's bucket list right there.
Very next day.
But do you feel like, go ahead.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would love to knock that out. And like my thinking is, I want to do that, step on the Arnold stage, and if I get 16th place, I'm probably going to hang it up. But if I can beat a pro that gets invited to Arnold Amateur, I'll keep going with this.
Right.
I
mean,
it gets invited to Arnold Pro Show.
Right. I mean, that only happens one time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here. That's something Tommy and I, we were in, Tommy competed this past weekend in Vegas, at the USA's. And we were talking like, I feel like everybody's hell bent on a pro card. So you're going into that show knowing that your chances of winning means you have to beat all the light heavies, all the heavies, all the supers in the overall. You understand what that you've thought that out.
Yeah. Well, my thought is like, I'm a super heavy, although I pulled the heavy last time, I shouldn't have. I'm a super heavy. If I can't fucking beat a fucking heavyweight or light heavyweight, maybe I shouldn't be bodybuilding.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I still think from time to time you're going to run across a crazy light heavyweight or heavy, but I agree. I think that some of these shows, you see these guys doing it, like for instance, and then, running the whole, trying to run through them all. So for instance, I had a guy, he was a heavyweight, and he got 3rd, and he's a small heavyweight. Still, he has great shape and he has tons of potential. And I don't know how soon North Americans is. I don't know, 6 weeks out, something like that. Tommy, you probably know.
It's about 4 now. It's 4 from this weekend.
And so he got 3rd, and people were asking me, well, so is he going to run on and do North Americans? And I'm like, no. I mean, he's still got plenty of room to grow in the weight class. Like he's got over 10 pounds to grow in the weight class. And then so say we take 3rd and then we go to USA's and we run into a more stacked lineup and then he hits 6th or 7th in the second call out. It's just like, that's a lose. That's a lose of a year, in my opinion. I don't care how stacked the lineup is. You went backwards. And I don't mean like you got worse, but technically you're sitting on this high that everyone thinks you're 3rd in the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just see so many guys do that and they just spend tons and tons and tons of money hitting all these shows. And I'm like, God, I mean, I don't know too many bodybuilders that are highly successful financially. So I'm like, dude, you're just killing yourself. And I just think that makes it worse going into the off season. I think that makes it worse on your family. I mean, all these people, you know how this is. All these people have to put up with you and everything's revolved around you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm totally against that. If you're not ready to go pro, you're not ready to go pro. If you lost, you're not ready to go pro. Go fix it. Get better. Like, I got 2nd on an amateur, and it was because I ran from Andrew Jack and went down. Like I should have been the 2nd best bodybuilder that day, no matter what, behind Andrew Jack. So I could have got 2nd at super, pulled down heavy, didn't fill out in time, got 2nd heavy. But everyone's like, well, you should go do USA's. It's like, I'm not ready to go pro. Like the day I had to run from Andrew Jack, I wasn't ready to go pro. Like,
right.
But yeah, I mean, especially with these other divisions, everyone's all about let's get the easy pro card. Junior. If you want to get the easiest pro card, you're going to do men's physique or classic physique and go to junior USA's. They give top 2 pro cards, and it's the easiest fucking show. Guess what? I've never taken a client to that because why would you want an easy pro card? Guess what? Now you're pro, so you can't compete amateur, and you just slid into pro. So now you get your ass whooped at pro.
Yeah.
So what the fuck's the point?
For a lot of people, the ride's over once you get a pro card. Like, you know, there's levels of genetics and just, especially with some of those other classes, like classic physique, you don't see too many short guys doing well at the pro ranks. It's a tall man's game up there. So if you're 5'2" and you get your pro card, like, great, that's probably the end of your career, unless you want to just go spend money to get your ass kicked every time you do a show. So I've never understood like the rush to get the pro card. Like, you know, I've been in this 10 years. Turner's been in it a decade plus. I know you've been in it a long time. Like, you got to enjoy the process of working towards earning that pro physique. And I think a lot of people, they want the card, thinking that it's going to give them some sort of status jump or something at all. And it's like, if your only goal when you're going to approach a pro qualifier is to get your pro card, this is what I was talking about with Turner, like only one pro card per class in open bodybuilding. I think there was like 15 guys in the heavyweights. So I have less than a 10% chance of turning pro. I'm leveraging my experience during this pro qualifier, all the money I'm spending, all the sacrifice I put in on a less than 10% chance. So if you can't find something about all of this process other than that pro card, you're going to be really, really let down with bodybuilding.
Yeah, the only way you're going to make money is if you get in the, you know, influencer game, or that's it. Honestly, it doesn't matter anything else. You got to be good on socials if you want to make money. But, you know, when I got into this, it was way before social media was a thing. It was way before classic physique, you know, all that shit. So we didn't have, you know, let's go get the pro card. This has always been about the body for me, the physique. So like when I went to Oklahoma, the next year they were making men's physique. You know, I'm 5'8", 185. The NPC Oklahoma chairwoman was like, they're making a new division next year, men's physique. You're perfect for it. Don't get any bigger and don't get any more tattoos. I was like, I don't give a fuck. I want to get huge and jacked and covered. So like, it's never been about, like, you know, I could have went and got an easy pro card the first year men's physique, you know. Back then you see what those guys look like. It was simple. But, you know, I've never been about it. The only time I'm, you know, for the pro card is when these older competitors, you know, yeah, let's go to Masters Nationals, get us a pro card.
Yeah.
Your journey's about over anyways. So let's get this. So you have that to say you did it, you know. But yeah. I'm not about that. And like, you know, I'm about to be 35. I'm not doing no fucking 35-year-old masters. That's fucking stupid as shit. Like,
yeah, I really think that if I had to, I'll be 33 this year, which, not that the age matters to me, but I'm going to be the 37-year-old that still wants to bang with the guys at nationals. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going, hey, well, that's out of the question now. Let's go to Universe, or let's go to Mexico and get a fucking pro card at 35. Like, I will be done before I my dad always said never say never, but I just don't think I could allow myself to do that. I'd rather just say, hey, I stayed an amateur. Like, seriously, so many people say that to me. Like, you know, you could have a pro card or blah, blah, blah if you just do this. And I'm like, dude, the fact that you think like that like makes me not want to be around you. I don't mean, you know, like not the family or anything, but like, really, if that's how simple you think, and number one, they don't know what you've poured into this to even walk around and look like you do. You know what I mean? I'm just like, this, to me, it's not like that. I know majority of people walk that life where they're like, what do I got to do? You know what I mean? To where I can just get a pro card.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it so much. I'm like, mine has always been about the body, right? Like, the lifting weights is therapeutic. You know, I've dealt with mental issues my entire life. It's always been like a therapy session for me. But the actual like science behind manipulating my body, like, my great grandfather was a jockey in Spain. I'm made to be a tiny person. Like, my dad wrestled 130 pounds in college. I'm not made to be this big. The science and the hard work is what drives me. And then, you know, I just want to look badass my entire life. Like, it's never been about the pro card. I do the shows just to kind of test where I am.
Right.
It's because I hate dieting. I don't like getting fat, but I like, stay about 10% or so, but I like to just look cool, bad, not to like show off, but I like, just.
It's a stat. I mean, it's your own type of status symbol. I get it, man.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about this all the time, but like when you walk around, call it jacked, call it whatever, people just glance at you and they give you a different level of respect. You know what I'm saying? I feel like even though we walk through the mall and someone's like, oh, look, at take steroids to look like that. Like you're still acknowledging that I do something that you're not willing to do.
Yeah.
And I get off on that.
I told, like, all three of us have been in the grocery store multiple times and had some random person come up to us and ask us a food related question or a bench press related question, a gym, anything. All three of us have had that probably dozens of times throughout the year, every year for over a decade now. None of us go up to overweight people. I don't ask them about their, I'm not asking for food advice. Like, hey, are the Nutter Butters better than the Hostess? Like, what do you like about that? It don't work like that. And same thing with like, influencing. I said this on another podcast. Red Bull isn't sponsoring average, normal, overweight people. That's not. You have to look different and be different. How you look is almost like a physical business card.
Absolutely.
And if we're all coaches trying to get clients, how you look and how you carry yourself and the decisions you make across the year, that cultivates the culture that you're going to have when you bring clients on.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That's another thing I think. I don't think you have to, keep blasting hard and everything, but I definitely am not. I don't appreciate or give 100% respect to the coaches that don't look the part, right? Like, especially the ones that never did it. I don't get that. Like, I would never trust a football coach that never played football, right? Like, I get it. You can know what the fuck you're doing. You can have tested it on a bunch of people and it's working. I'm not saying you don't, but at the end of the day, when your client or say I hired this person, they've never done it, right? And like, I'll text you, man, I'm struggling today. You can't say, dude, I've been there, I've done it. You got it.
Right.
You can say, just do it, You've never even been there. that pisses me off so much.
Yeah, it's like taking your car to a mechanic who has read a lot of books about working on cars and watched videos, but he's actually never got in and wrenched on a car.
Oh, it eats me so much. And I was like, I hate it. And I'm like, I like, there's a few, I'm not going to call them out, that they're obviously, they're doing well with their clients. They obviously know what they're doing, but they're never even like the main thing. Like I said, I do less is more with my clients, and I test because I test shit. Like, I want to know what the red line is. I test it on. I'm not going to test the red line on someone else. I'm not going to give someone else health issues because I don't know what the red line is. Because there's no research on what's the max dose of tren. You can Google, ask some people. Hey, I use this. I want to feel what the max dose of tren should be. That's when I pushed it to a gram. That was way too much. Never go over 400 milligrams a week, people. But and these people that they literally just using other people as their guinea pigs.
Yeah.
And I don't like that at all. I don't. And then even the people that have done it, barring health issues, at least stay fit. Like, I just don't like these coaches who don't look physically fit.
I think another thing that I think is funny with social media is, again, this is just the way I see it, but I'm the type of person that I really don't eat a lot of bad food, and it's just my choice, right? So, but if I'm going to try to coach people and bring people on and teach them this is the way I do things, I'm not food porning on my Instagram all the time, where I'm like, check me out, I'm in Las Vegas eating this and this and this and this, and check this out. Oh yeah, we're eating this and this. It's just like, I feel like Tommy says it all the time. Like you have to lead from the front, right? So especially with a lot of these people, and even when you do that, sometimes it's unsuccessful. But I see coaches all the time, and they're like, "Oh yeah, just we all get cheat meals and we all get this and that." But I feel like you can't. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like if you're a coach and you're bragging about some of the things that you have, eventually those people are going to be like, "Hey, wait, you've got that, but I don't have that. Why is that?" And I just think that all these head games and things that go on, and then you put people on drugs that they're not supposed to be on. I just always think that's a recipe for disaster, and I see it happen all the time. And again, like, I'm not right or wrong, but I just see lots of coaches doing the whole, like, we're out eating and drinking and this and that and partying and raving and like, most people would never know if I even do that, which I don't, but that's just the way I feel.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, I'm in this. There's things. The main things I'm in this for is I want to look badass. I want to feel good, and the thing I've been focused on the past 4 years is I want to live forever at a high level. So
Right.
I'm doing. I drink 2 times a year, New Year's and my wife's birthday, only because she wants me to. Like, and I don't do nicotine. I don't do weed. Those have detrimental things to your health. So I'm not in this just for body. I want my body to be healthy. So I lead from the front. I eat grass-fed ground beef, white rice, green beans 3 times a day, every day for the past 7 years. Right? I have 2 or 3 protein shakes with exact macronutrients in it. I in the off season, I'll have a free meal more loosely, but it's never bullshit. Like it's Chipotle or Chick-fil-A, nothing crazy. And I'm not posting this on my Instagram.
Right.
And I don't know. I definitely believe you should lead by example for sure.
I think the best coaches usually do. But
and like the training, I train hardcore year round. I definitely believe practice what you preach.
How do you handle your clients psychologically? So I feel like on this podcast, and just Turner and I pretty much daily, we're always going back and forth. Like if a client says something, we share it with each other and then kind of dissect it, trying to figure out what that person might mean or why they think like that. Because, I know I'm extreme, Turner's extreme, you're pretty extreme. Like any of us who are like 10 plus years into bodybuilding, we clearly have, an extreme component to us that keeps us in this and wanting to keep pushing it further and further and further. So how do you deal with, I know you said you work with a lot of young people. I take on a lot of younger people, building them up from the ground up. And I feel now, especially in 2023, we've been in a recession for 2 years. It's on you as the coach to like be real with your clients about what the cost is to take bodybuilding to the next level, or to even do these pro qualifiers to have a chance to take it to the next level. Do you prep your people for stuff like that? Do you let them know like, hey, a pro qualifier is probably going to run you, $3 to $5 grand if you're doing it right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I don't even want people doing a local show. Like I pride myself. Like I don't do this for competition, but as a coach, the competition, it's a big deal. As a competitor, like so when I compete, I only go if I think I can win. Even though I was first starting out and I was a little delusional, now I'm definitely. But as a coach, I can be pretty unbiased and real. And like, if I don't even think you're going to win a local show, I'm like, bro, let's wait. We need to build. This is going to cost this, and this. You want to throw that money away to go get 3rd place at fucking Yahoo State Championship? Like, for a fucking plastic trophy in 10 seconds on stage? No, are you about, I'm like, and especially these young ones that, talk pro carb. I'm like, okay, are you about this life or are you about some bullshit trophy? If you're about this life, give me 2 years of grinding in before you think about competing.
Yeah, I agree. When I get a first timer, my test for them is if they'll live like a bodybuilder and work with me for up to a year before we even talk about a prep. Because, I got to see if you can check in on time. I got to see how you respond to adversity. If I have to come down on you in a check-in, I got to see what your organization is like. I got to see how, kind of like, okay, you've talked about it, that you want to do a show. Now I need to see if you're actually going to show the actions week after week after week that it would take to do a show and be competitive. There's a difference between just doing a show and then actually doing a show to be competitive. You can fucking pull up the schedule and go do a show next week if you want. You could go on as is. I mean, that's kind of the new trend with the local level, is like you get people who just see a flyer and they're like, I think I'm going to go do that. And they don't even, they've never followed a meal plan in their life and they hop on stage 4 weeks later.
Yeah, I'm like, every step of the process, I get people, they're like, hey, can you prep me for a show? I'm like, well, new signups, I do 20-week minimum. Okay. Because we need to get a baseline before we start cutting. Right. And I'm like, and then I'll look at your body, and if I think, a year's, I'm like, I'll tell them, we can see what you look like in a year, and then we can decide on a show or not. But let's get you on a program, get you following some shit, get you eating right and working out right. And like, the newbies like, oh, I want to take, when they see, I like how it's not as taboo now, but it's gotten a little too loose on these influencers talking about gear and all these young, hey, I want to get a cycle. I'm like, well, let's get you eating 6 meals a day and working out hard. Get you on fucking creatine before you start doing a cycle. Like, everyone wants to jump, right? We start taking clean, and that's another reason I don't jump. I want to make sure like you're going to diet right, do some cardio before I just pump you full of clean and, some T4.
Absolutely.
My did USA's, and my biggest takeaway for me and how do I improve was it's actually going back to mastering the basics. And I think a lot of younger people need to really obsess over that part of it. The drugs, the ancillaries, all of that will come, and it does come in different pushes and pulls. But you figure out a way to always be going back to the grind and mastering the basics. That was my biggest reflective moment with myself when I drove home from Vegas was, what are the basics? The training, the nutrition, doing year-round cardio, staying active outside of your cardio, sleep, hydration, salt in your meal, like all the basics. And we talk a lot about Kobe Bryant on this podcast. And that's all he did, is he mastered the basics and got obsessive with them for his whole career and became one of the greatest of all time doing that. So I think if you think logically after a show or throughout your year, like, how do I get better? Yeah, the dose has to go up as the years go on. And if you want to take your physique to higher levels that it's capable of getting to, but it's not this arms race to throw as much shit at your body as you can year after year after year. It's like progressive overload with training. You're going to progressively overload gear too, but it's going to be done in pushes and pulls. It's not a year-round thing.
Yeah. And it's like, you can't say like, I hate when is it going to change? What do you mean? You're going to eat the same thing every day. The quantity is going to slightly adjust week to week based on your body and based on what we're trying to accomplish at the time. But if you need drastic change, bodybuilding is not for you. Like, yeah, we can get a sustainable lifestyle, fall on a loose diet, but you're not going to be a legitimate competitor with this loose dieting, or like, when's the workout going to change? Well, next week I want you to get one more rep. Next week I want that top set to be perfect. We don't need to do a new workout. I need you to master hack squat before we need to focus on, should I try heel elevated, fucking sit sideways on the leg press and finger bang my twat? Like, no, like fucking focus. social media was the best and worst thing that ever happened to society. I hate it. I know it's why any of us are able to make money, but too many dumb people influencing people, and people see some new workout they want to try. I'm like, bro, it's simple. Like the workout is probably the simplest aspect. Is all you need to understand is how the muscle works, and get as crazy a range of motion as possible. Make sure you're activating the muscle you're trying to activate. Control the weight, and then just give effort. And then try to improve that every week. You don't need a new workout every week.
That's right.
Mastering the basics. I mean, the highlight of my day is still all the little factors around going to the gym and trying to hunt down the perfect workout. You know what I mean? Like my pre-workout meal, my pre-workout drive to the gym, all these little things I'm trying to line up to on that day perform the best I can in the gym. And that sets the tone for my life, dude. You give me a real bad day in the gym, it's probably best to avoid me until my next, because like I don't want to say depressed, but I'm off.
Yeah, I had after my show I did Arnold Amateur 2022 March. After that, because I've cruised the past 10 years, I decided, I'm gonna try to come off, see what happened. Worst idea ever. Cruise definitely needed to at least be on tier 2. Hormones went all the whack, and I had some weird cyst pop up in my head. So I've been dealing with that for the past year, and it's really hampered my training. Well, I got it cut out, it healing up, and now it's still not fully healed. So for the past 15 months, I haven't been able to go balls to the wall. I have to, and I hate it. I miss, and I want to have that hack squat where I like think of deep, dark, thoughts and push, but I can't even do it. I miss that so much. Like, and like people, and when's going to change? I mean, every week I would just thrive on, I got to beat what I did last week. And, it's not just progressive overload. At first, it's weight or reps, but you can't get bigger, stronger forever. Like now I'm like, I want to make every rep perfect. Can I make, can I control this more?
Yep.
And like, I hate it so much because like the one workout that causes the blood rush to my head the most is fucking legs. And that's the one I need to work on the most. And past 15 months, I've been literally having to stay zen while I'm trying to work out to try to keep from this fucking thing bleeding. It sucks. But just know, as soon as this heals up, everyone's fucked.
That's right. It won't be 2024 though, will it, Tommy?
Nah,
No.
I'm on the fucking prowl for 24.
I wanted to add something to this. Tommy and I have talked about this. When I go through my like cleansing phase where you're basically down to 100 and whatever TRT, that's where I go back to the drawing board with all my compound movements. And I don't mean I just use the bar, but I get my range of motions perfect. I make sure that I'm coming down to the right spots, and I will start. So for instance, if my top set is 315 on incline bench for 12, I just make sure I'll take it down to 250 or somewhere around there, and I will get perfect depth all the way up, all the way down, and I make sure the time under the tension is exactly where I want. And I'll use that phase of cleansing to make sure that when I get back to being able to push hard, I'm not cutting my reps short, and I'm not. It's like you said, you're just remastering the basics, and I feel like what better time than to do that? Yes. My mentality when I'm cleansing too is also I got to get fucking stronger. But at the same time, I feel like if I can get back to square one and be perfect, I can get stronger when the things come, when the drugs come back into play. And something I was going to add to that is like, I mean, you go to gyms now and there's probably going to be a flat bench press in most gyms, but hell, there's some gyms that don't have an incline press or a decline press, or, it's like, we've gotten into training that's all machine based. And I'm not saying, Andrew Jacks can't go get on any machine and get bigger. I agree. Anybody can do that. But I do feel like there's something to be said for the compound movements that are making foundations. And I think that, these kids are quick to jump back in and jump back on machines to get that quick in and out pump. And so I don't think there's ever trying to reestablish any foundation or, your basics. That's just how.
Yeah. So on your first point, I don't really have it like I haven't really coordinated with, but I remember when I used to really focus on trying to beat a rep every week, right?
Right.
Like, I think I was through the weeks, I didn't notice that my tempo is speeding up slightly or my ROM. So I would, and then every once in a while I would realize it and then I'd cut it back and clean everything up. So I never really timed it up. It would make more sense. It probably naturally just happened when I go to a cruise because, when you're blasting, you're like, oh, let's fucking go, and then you clean it up and you're like, wait, have I been doing everything perfectly? So yeah, anytime you're doing progressive. So, I guess that would be when these program deloads, I hate all the new terminology and shit. You got to go by your body and like push it. If something starts feeling sketchy, let's bring it back and let's reevaluate everything.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. My Tommy and Dusty and I talked about that. And, if you put 5 pounds on the bar, but you cut 1.5 inches out of your range of motion, is it a win? You got the cut 1.5 inches out of the range of motion. Is that a win? So, everybody, we've probably all got a different answer, but it's all also probably really similar. We were talking about, you were talking about 13 seconds on stage or whatever a second ago when you were talking about these bodybuilders not being able to really afford and understand all that goes into this. So, not to single anyone out or anything like that, but my client, I went back and I watched his prejudging and I sent it to Tommy and he was on stage, first call out. Like I said, he was, between 1 and 3rd the whole time. And they were on stage for 3 minutes and like roughly 40 something seconds. And it's like, all right, you have prepped. Not only have you been bodybuilding for 10 years, you've prepped for 20 weeks. You've taken all necessary things that go into that. We know what that is. You've dieted, the cardio, and now you've flown here with a significant other. You've got your friends, family come, you got a hotel, it was a shit show trying to get back and forth to hotels in Vegas. And I'm just like, wow, man, 3 minutes. For me, I'm not saying it's much because I just love to train. So regardless if I ever compete again, that's not going to stop me. A lot of these people are just in it to get a pro card. And I'm like, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It does feel like, when you're up there, depending on how it goes, it doesn't feel like it happened really fast until it's over. They're like, all right, guys, thank you. And you're like, whoa, wait, come on. Let me show you one more look. I was getting a good, you know what I mean? And then it's like, we'll see at the night show. But I was like, damn. I was like, minimal, it was 7 minutes. And I just blew me away. That was only 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And they worked them hard, 2 or 3 rounds.
Pretty crazy.
That's why you have to have your perspectives aligned on what you're doing all this for, because 3 minutes and 40 seconds, like you just flew in and you're doing all this shit. You're posing 10 times a day or 1 to 2 days out. Every meal, every drop of water, every grain of salt is so calculated that last 72 hours for 3 minutes and 40 seconds. That's if you're in the first call out. It was half that for me. I won the second call out. So you have to have, for me, the experience of USA's was the totality of it, of like, Turner and I stayed in an Airbnb together. We talked like the whole thing was like a running podcast. We're going back and forth using my car to go to hotel, to the Airbnb, to tanning, to seeing my coach. So you got to be able to separate. You got to be able to understand where you're, like, it's just a checkpoint in time. Like this show, maybe you get your pro card. Odds are you don't. You're going to lose more bodybuilding shows than you win in your career, unless you're Derek Lunsford. So you got to have your perspective lined up. And that's what I try to do, for my clients at the local level too, but also, all the way. I get first timers who are like, I'm coming for it all. I want to win. I'm like, and unless it's a weak show, like a first timer probably isn't winning the show. It just doesn't, you got to pay. Bodybuilding is the one thing where you have to pay your dues. There's no like Cinderella story that's going to show up and just destroy everyone. Every now and then you get a genetic anomaly, but for the most part, you got to take your licks.
I did watch Dallas McCarver. He
What?
won every Dallas McCarver.
He won every show.
He won every single show.
I mean, it's a genetic freaks, man.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to cut you off. I thought about that. Yeah.
Hunter too, I think until the Olympia was his first ever loss.
Hey, what have you seen those pictures?
He looks pretty
good.
I feel like that's where,
watery.
What's that?
This is the first time he's not watery.
I still feel like those, if you look at his pictures, he's got like 3 little ass wrinkles right up under his glute and hamstring tie-in. That's been on him every single show. You can go back and look at any show that he's competed in, and they're there. And I'm not saying he's got a bad coach or whatever. I'll tell you this: you never see pictures of Hunter flat, and I know that you can mitigate that, and you cannot post those pictures. But from time to time, you can look at some of these guys, especially. I mean, he puts everything online for the most part. Like I said, he's not putting his bad pictures online, but like Hunter's always pretty full as a house. In my opinion,
you gotta get flat to get shredded.
You gotta get fucking flat to get shredded. Well, that's what I was telling him. I had a guy, a light heavyweight this year that he's competed with me and off and on for 10 years, and I had to pull him down, push him back up, pull him down, push him back up, and he competed 6 weeks out, and he was shredded to the bone. But he's always had like wrinkle, like this big line of wrinkles on his lower back, and this was the only show where they were not there, and I attribute that to like 4 low days, 3 high days, 4 low days, 3 high days. You know what I mean? And I don't think that Hunter's taking it that far. And now listen, Hunter's physique will blow mine out of the water to the end of time, but I really think that he probably has a problem with authority, and I don't mean like he's just rebellious. I just think that like at his level in the game, nobody's really going to tell him what to do. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, nah, coach says 3 days. I think we can knock it out in 2 days. That's what I feel is going on. I feel like if Hani Rambod trained him, it would be Hani's way or the highway. And I think that you'd probably see the best Hunter ever. But when you got your best friend coaching you, I don't think you'll ever see the best Hunter Labrada. He will get better and bigger every year. That's not a problem. But I don't think we'll see, hottie level conditioning on Hunter ever the day of the show.
Yeah, and I definitely think another thing with him, he definitely needs to get whatever. He has a water retention issue. Blood pressure is a clear sign of some kind. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying he has high blood pressure, but from the pictures and videos, his face is always beet red, and he always has crazy veins everywhere, right? Crazy veins look cool, but that is a clear sign of water retention and blood pressure issues.
Yeah, if you're waking up like super pumped, that your blood pressure's high.
Yeah, I definitely think he needs to figure out whatever's causing it. And I know he was used to only do like 1 meal a day and like 5 fucking protein shakes. And that can't be good for you.
I think he fixed that. You could tell his midsection and his lower back are tighter this year.
He looks
he
way tighter this year.
What's that?
He looks way tighter this year for sure.
Yeah.
I saw back double. He wasn't that dug out last year.
No, I agree. I do think this is some of his best conditioning yet, in combination with the size. But I just like Hunter's one of those where I feel like if and when he nails it, I'm not saying he'll win the Olympia, but I think he'll trump Nick. I think he could potentially trump Hottie. And then it's just a battle between him and Derek and whoever else nails at that time. I mean, he's got one of the perfect structures for bodybuilding. I feel like Derek Lunsford does too, but I feel like Derek's almost just about 3 inches too compact. I feel like Hunter's got that perfect height width ratio where, like, I mean, he is a better looking Jay Cutler from back in the day, and he not so blocky, if you have my opinion.
Yeah, he definitely looks really good. You know what's weird though? I don't know why. Him and Derek, especially Derek, it's craziest shit ever. So Derek's rear double, hammies dug out, glutes dug out, back pretty dug out. But most muscular, you can't see one striation or muscle separation in his arms, chest, or delts. And Hunter is the same way. Hunter's never even been as dug out as Derek. But look at his most muscular. I don't get it. I don't know. I don't want to claim oil. You'd probably see some lumps if it was a lot of oil. I do not understand how you don't have one separation or striation through here, but you're dug the fuck out. I don't get it.
Yeah, I agree. You've seen that, like you take Hottie, and I feel like what you're talking about, he's got that from head to toe. But if you look at
dug out, every muscle striated, like he hits this, you could tell he's fucking flexing his chest because it's
right.
But like Derek and Hunter flex their chest. I know Hunter has a pec tear, but on the other one, I mean, nothing happens.
Yeah,
there's nothing that happens.
I've always noticed that about Derek, and I feel like everyone's like, "Well,
you think it comes with age,
huh?
You think it comes with age because Hottie's older?
I mean, but why are his hammies and glutes so dug out?
Yeah,
I agree. I wish I knew the answer to that, but I've always noticed that. And I think his biggest critique last year was like, he needs more fullness in his chest. And I'm just like,
it's not fullness, it's separation.
No, I agree. Derek's not full anywhere. I don't give a shit. Now, he's going to come back this year and he's going to have that chest and shoulder fullness that they've been asking about. But I agree. I don't think that the crazy striated lines across his chest, I've never seen that either. And so I just think that's maturity over time.
I mean, maturity for the striations, but I still don't get with like zero separation.
Yeah.
You don't see where the bicep, brachialis, front delt, and chest. Like right here, it's just there's not a line.
Right.
I don't get it. Like
Turner, you think with your guy, going back to what you said about this is the first year he didn't have, that lower back wrinkles. Was this the longest he's dieted cumulatively?
Oh yeah. I'd say that's what I'm saying.
That's a huge point is like, I think guys just like, you want to bring your best peeled, most dugout condition, head to toe and all the way around. I think you're going to end up dieting for 6 months. Now, and how many shows you do in that time, because you can get better show to show. But I think most guys, unless you're just, even me, I dieted for 26 weeks. Now, it wasn't like I was on low calories and doing hours of like there was periods where cardio tapered way down, food went way up coming out of a show, and then you set yourself back up to land the plane again. But I think you need to be in a prep mindset and a prep state for probably 6 months to bring that. I think Turner's phone died.
Oh damn.
But how long do you like your preps to go for your clients?
So clients, I like to definitely 16 weeks.
Okay.
Preferably 20. For me, I definitely need to take it more serious longer. Not saying I don't take it serious, but like I'm normally too focused on clients, and I don't like completely lock it in until like 16 weeks out. But I definitely, this next prep, I'm definitely want to lock everything 100% 20 weeks out. Yeah. And I think the main thing is with saying get lean longer, it gives your skin time to tighten.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, I'm never out. I'm not gonna say I'm never out of shape, but it doesn't take me long to get peeled. But I do think like everyone, and sorry to cut out, I had a phone call and I was trying to block it and it fucked me up. But I think everyone rushes to get peeled, and that's not the hard part. The hard part's bringing the optimal look once you have got peeled, whether that's, the combination of dryness and fullness. But that guy, Nate, Tommy, he's always rushed a prep to get lean super, super, super fast because he hates the diet. And he has those those back wrinkles. And like, I knew he would be good per se, but like, I knew those back wrinkles, in my opinion, when I look at his pictures, that always stands out to me. And so luckily he won an overall 6 weeks ago. And so we had time to high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low. And I was like, I was really pleased that this was the first time I'd never seen those. But just to add to that, like, even with myself, I can be peeled, dude, in 12 weeks, peeled, probably less than that. But I think my next show, I'll probably start 30 weeks out, just so I can, and I honestly, what I'll probably do is I'll probably prep myself to about 20 weeks out, and then I'll let someone else take it from 20 to or the last 10. That way they can just say, hey, let's just I just want to listen to you. You say 4 days, you say 5 days, because you know how it is. If you have it, I'll probably either push too hard and then I won't feel back out long enough. And so if you got someone that you trust to look at you, I think that can really be, my ego usually gets in the way of that. And I don't ever want anyone to take credit for my success, but I do think that I'll do that going next time.
I think that 30 to, everyone thinks if you're starting really far out, it means you're just going to start taking calories down. But most of the time when you start further out, you're actually in a place where you can be adding calories before you actually start pulling shit down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Main thing is that, get in the prep mindset is when you don't have the free meal loosely, you don't,
Right.
Well, I'm going to have a free meal today. No, I'm in prep. Right. And
Even other things too. Like there's a lot of things that any of us know that we kind of, I don't want to say we start cheating more, but if you're 2 or 3 grams over on your peanut butter, or you're just not as nailed down on all these little things that you need to be when you enter a contest prep, and you spend 10 weeks ahead of the actual prep doing that, you're probably going to be feeding yourself more because your metabolism is going to speed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably, it's like, I guess, finding the fine line of where to be at because I know if you're too shredded too long, that's when you start burning muscle.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking a gram of Trent. Come on now. I'm fucking with you. Now I do think that weighs in, like you're doing an hour cardio, T3, clean, yeah, I believe that. And then you try to go 4 straight low days. Not that that's long, but yeah, I think that fucking happens. But I also think that the right person watching and overviewing that food knows that, all right, we'll give him a week solid of minimal cardio, bring his calories back up, dude. He'll be full as a house in no time. And I don't really think that muscle is dieted off. I think you've closed that cell or whatever you want to call it.
Dry.
Yeah. But what did you just say? I had something I wanted to add to that. What were you just talking about?
Who?
Both of you guys.
Starting prep early.
Oh, okay. I know what I was going to say. I can remember now. I don't know because Dave Palumbo's never prepped me, but I know a lot of guys that Dave has prepped. And I think the first 2 weeks he has you go, well, let me just say the guys that I've talked to, the first 2 weeks he has them go 0 carbs. And you think about that, you're like, well, man, damn, my strength's going to go down, blah, 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 blah. But honestly, that's probably really, really genius. Another thing I was going to add to that, say you diet 30 weeks. This is my opinion. You've had an off season to get muffins, Pop-Tarts, cheeseburgers, all you can eat sushi. I think the first 10 weeks of prep, there should be no fucking refeed, blah, blah, blahs. If you're 30, 35, we're talking bodybuilders here. I'm not talking about bikini girls, but if you're 30 plus pounds over what your new stage weight is going to be, I think you can use that 10 weeks to get all your inflammation down, get the water gone, get on a set diet, and then you've actually burned fat. And I honestly think the same thing with drugs. Like, I'm not saying start 30 weeks out and go no drugs, but I think that, like, if you're starting to prep 30 weeks out, I don't think it's all right, let's throw Anadrol, tests, GH, insulin, this and this and this. It's like, in my opinion, that just makes it harder to diet someone down. Because then, I mean, if you're going to run all those drugs, you're going to have to pull their calories down. You can't pull them down much if they're taking insulin. So you're just going to run them up with cardio. Nobody wants to be 30 weeks out doing 50 minutes of cardio. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so I definitely think cheat meals completely psychological. I've started cutting those out completely. And then I'm not a fan of carb cycling. I'm all about stable. So if the body's coming down too hard, I bump the carbs up a little bit. If they're not coming down enough, bump them down. Now refeeds, definitely if you get down, shredded and low calorie, high cardio, then you're going to need some refeeds. It's literally you're just flat and you need to pump the muscles back up. But I mean, most people don't ever even get flat to even fucking get there. And so they don't even know what the fuck that feels like. But and another thing, I will admit, I've kind of been on the fence with this, which I stupidly got where I was on this like no cardio thing. And my last two preps, I prepped with zero cardio. But I definitely think you need cardio in there to get shredded. I've just been quads have been my weakest link, and I'm just so afraid of like burning them off.
Yeah.
I mean, as stupid as that's been, but
I think
definitely
if you have legs that are weaker, because I have weaker legs too, and I did a lot of bike this prep, and I've never really used the bike, and they held on better than they had in previous preps when I was using stairs or incline treadmill. In my opinion, it just zaps your legs. They have no fullness to them if you use incline treadmill your whole prep.
That's funny that you say that. Is I was literally about to try cycling. I've never done a cycling bike before. I was going to try it.
It gives you a quad pump every session, so I found it actually beneficial.
And I my thinking there is like you can adjust the intensity where you can get your heart rate up without having to like stairs. There's only you're walking on the stairs. You can only go so like you have to. It's like you're doing a lunge every time. So I mean, at that point, you're going to be exerting muscularly before you're exerting cardiovascularly.
I mean, we're talking because we're all heavier guys, heavies and super heavies. When you have that kind of mass, like the stairs does become more exertion than probably necessary once you get to a certain body fat level. So I think you need to be adjusting cardio equipment throughout the prep, not just merit. Again, it's if you're working with a client and they only got one thing, they can't get to the gym twice a day. All right, cool. Like I'll make it work. But I used the stairs, the bike, and the incline treadmill all in different phases of my dieting this year.
I also, it's like you said, if they can get to the gym once, okay, they can do one of those three methods, right? I think I've had really good success with just telling someone, hey, look, go put a hoodie on and just walk your neighborhood. Like that, I feel like you get better mental clarity when you're just walking through the neighborhood. You're waving at the neighbors, you're thinking about these things. When you tell someone, all right, you got to do an hour and 20 minutes on the stepper, they dread every fucking minute of that. There's no clarity. It's just, when is this going to be over? You tell somebody, put your headphones on, turn the audio book on, put a hoodie on, and walk for 30 minutes. And I've found that they'll walk and walk and walk and realize, damn, dude, I'm like 6 streets over. I was supposed to turn around 10 minutes ago. You know what I mean? And it's like you almost get lost in what you're doing versus dreading every minute of it. And so if you can keep those, it's just like dangling that cheese in front of them. And it's not like, I'm not calling them rats. I'm just saying, like, if you can sustain, that's kind of what he was saying. If you can sustain what you're doing over time versus burning them out where they're 6 weeks out and you still got them doing stepper, I think you realize that the body responds much easier. And I think that's because mentally they're not battling every minute that you are throwing at them. And that's just something that comes with time of coaching people. I feel like a good coach adapts and he learns and he's like, how am I going to manipulate these people? Because yes, stepper is the only thing that I think works. And that's not true. But I think that I think if we're just getting direct results, we're going to put them on the stepper or the old school stepper. But, you know, like I said, you do that 10 weeks and these motherfuckers are ready to hang it up.
Well, that's why I go minimal cardio. Like I'll first start people 20, 30 minutes post-workout, right? And then I'll add in 60 minutes on your rest day. And then I'll go, all right, now we got to go fasted. And now we're going to do 40 minutes every day fasted. And then max I'll do is 60 minutes a day. But the main thing, the reason I'm kind of, I mean, walking's good. I think efficiency is most important. I think you got to actually exert yourself. I mean, I know like getting the hoodie on, you're going to get the good thermogenics, but I think actually exerting yourself is going to be crucial. Then you don't have to do so much. So like, that's amazing.
100%. I just think that like, I think that someone's going to enjoy a brisk, and I make sure to say a brisk walk. Like, don't just go stroll with your wife. And if that's the case, you just need to let her know that you're going to leave her behind. Maybe take your dog so he can pull you. But yeah, I agree. Like if you put someone on an hour of stepper, 9 times out of 10, they're just not busting fucking ass while they're on the stepper. They're just butts out, elbows, you know, they're just
hugging that thing.
Yeah, like get the fuck out of here. That is not cardio. Cardio, I hate watching people, and I'm not saying I don't text when I do cardio, but like if I'm show prep cardio, it's the phone is just on there and I'm just holding fucking on. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh yeah, let me shoot off some emails and let me my hands are sweating. You know, it's like wiping my fucking head all the time. But if effort is applied to cardio, I don't think anybody would have to do near as much.
Oh yeah, the whole go see the burning fat zone. It's like no, like that only like if you're busting your ass lifting weights, your zones are completely distorted. Like now you just want to push it as hard as you can to burn as many calories as you can, and it's fat loss. Like the stepper at max exertion is not equivalent to your hack squat on intensity of muscular work. So like these people thinking that, well, I got to walk or I'm in a different zone. It's like, no, just let's go as hard as you can. And 20 minutes will be plenty for most people if you just go as hard as you fucking can.
Right.
But yeah, I think the heart zones, a lot of us that came up with the magazines got caught up in that. It would tell you if you're anything above 130, you're not burning fat. You're over the fat burning rate. And if you're going higher, you're something about performance. I just remember like I believed it when I was like 19, 20. I was like, all right, I got to keep my heart rate right here just to burn fat.
Yeah, I remember I used to do that with I'd do the incline treadmill and hold on to the thing where it could read your heart rate.
Yeah.
And like I remember my friend was like, bro, your heart rate gets higher than that when you get pissed off. And I was like,
yeah, and then if
you're taking Clen and stuff too, I mean, some people get reactive to where they're just sitting with a heart rate that's burning fat at that rate.
Yeah. I was gonna say I've had clients reach out and be like, hey man, my heart rate's 155. What do I need to do? I'm like, you're doing it fucking right. Stay there. Push it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you want the goal, especially that there is research about the afterburn effect. And that's you're pushed as high as you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's that called? The epoch or whatever? Something like that.
I can't remember.
Yeah. I've read into that.
Like Wingates. I don't know if you guys have ever done that. If you've never done that, you should try that. It'll pump your quads like a motherfucker. But like, for instance, all right, you can go put someone on a stepper for 40 minutes, or I can run you on 5 to 6 rounds of Wingates. You let me dictate how hard and let me run the timer, and that'll be the same amount of 45-minute cardio on the stepper that you do. You understand what I'm saying? It's like running sprints. That's all it is. Running as hard as you can up a hill for 30 seconds, and then we'll stop. I'll give you 2 minutes, and then we'll do it again. As hard as you fucking can. And
you like that in prep or?
I like it on leg day. I love it on leg day. And for leg day, it's not about a thermogenic. It's about I'm going for intense, like how tight I can crank that fucking bike and how hard I can push my legs. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not worried about, for instance, if I was having someone do them for cardio, I wouldn't crank the resistance all the way up. But on leg day, I want to be able to move that bike with the resistance maxed out. And yes, your legs will be so fucking pumped that you won't be able to walk. We'll do it sometime and I'll show you. But if I'm gonna do, like I said, if I'm gonna do cardio, I won't do the if you're gonna do cardio, you can do it on one of those assault bikes, and I think that's even better because you can get this motion too.
Yeah, those assault bike, the Echoes, the Rogue Echo and the Assault, they're good shit. That's what I did my prep on for the most part once I got down to a certain body fat. So
yeah.
Well, Bryce, we're at about 90 minutes. I know you're a busy dude, got a full roster. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but we'll definitely do a part 2, kind of go over contest prep strategy. As I think hearing from different coaches can give people a different, like, there's not one way to skin a cat, but there's like all 3 of us and all coaches that are, trying to get better at least are all doing the same things in a way to get everybody to the finish line to bring the best look. So appreciate you coming on. Go ahead and plug yourself. Where can people find you?
GorillaPerformance.com or Instagram. It's spelled GOREALA. Gorilla Performance.
Okay. Well, for Bryce Pacheco, I'm Tommy Stiles. This is Turner Riddle. This has been another episode of For the Love of the Game. And until next time, we are out.
Peace.